I've asked our Register of Deeds, Becky Neosi, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this morning.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the September 15th, 2014 meeting of the Shawnee County Board of Commissioners. My name is Bob Archer. I have the honor of serving currently as chair of the commission, and I'm also privileged to serve with Commissioner Kevin Cook, who serves as vice chair and represents District 2, and Commissioner Shelley Bueller, who represents District 1. Good morning, everybody, and welcome again.
Good morning.
First item, please.
Item 3, consent agenda.
Questions or comments on the consent agenda?
I have none.
Move for their approval.
I'll second.
Motion made to approve the consent agenda as presented by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Item 4, new business. A, County Clerk number 1, consider all voucher payments.
Commissioners, this morning we have vouchers that total $1,008,550.47. Out of those, the highlights are really the payroll, payments from the court to CASA, holding accounts with the state of Kansas, our Blue Cross Blue Shield payments, and the payment for the imaging software process through the Register of Deeds. And those 5 things highlight 75% of the voucher payments, but I do not see any issues, and I would move for their approval.
I'll second.
Motion made to approve the vouchers as presented by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. That motion carries 3-0. Thank you. Next item.
Item A2, consider correction orders.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Bueller and seconded by Commissioner Cook to approve the correction orders. All in favor say aye, opposed no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Item B, County Counselor number 1, consider claim of Lee Sowell for damage caused by sewer backup.
Good morning, Commissioners. Rich Eckert, County Counselor. We've provided you with a memorandum concerning this issue. In short, there was a blockage to a sewer line. The sewer line was not on the property owner's property. It was on our side, which makes that our issue. Because of the blockage, it backed up into the homeowner's home, and thus the request for damages. The bigger problem has been trying to specify the exact amount of damages. Through several conversations back and forth, we've come to a number that my office believes that we should pay of $3,383.55, and that's what I'm recommending today.
Questions or comments for the county counselor?
Not for the county council.
Okay. Any other discussion? I'll entertain a motion.
Anybody here to speak for or against? Or
Yeah, we notified the homeowner that it would be on today.
That it would be on today. Okay, I've reviewed the documentation. I think it's fair to the homeowner, and I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Archer, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye, opposed no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Item C, Emergency Management number 1, consider authorization and execution of contracts C 323-2014 and C 324-2014 with the Northeast Kansas Homeland Security Council for the transfer of 2 laptop computers.
Good morning, Commissioners. Dave Sturbins with Emergency Manager. This is more of the regional equipment. This specifically is for the incident management team response. It holds the new Dragonfly program that we use when we do incident action plans and allows us to be more effective and efficient on disaster responses. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
David, I had a couple of questions. The North Central Regional Planning Commission, Could you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, what
our role is with that?
Sure. Okay, the North Central Planning Commission is the business agents or office that actually manage all the money. So when we have a project, for example, when we got that new pickup, they actually take the bids, they process all the bids, they pay for everything out of the money they request through Kansas Highway Patrol, and then we get the title from that. So they are simply the business agent that everything goes through. And that way we have consistency throughout the state with all the regions on how the money is processed and tracked. And that's why we get the contracts for transfer of property agreements all goes through them so that we know who's accountable. And then usually once a year, then we actually get an on-site inspection, and they'll come in and pick certain pieces of equipment, and then we actually have to go out and show them where it's at and how it's being utilized. And anytime it's used, of course, we explain it.
And we're a member of this organization?
Yes, it's part of, because of the Northeast Regional Council, of which we're a member, then again, they are the business agent for the Northeast Regional Council.
And do they have a board, a governing body?
Well, how it's done is there's representatives from all the different agencies, like emergency management from all the different counties, law enforcement, police departments, health agencies. All the different groups have representatives on the board, for example, for the Northeast region, and the other regions are the same. And then that's how the money and the votes are done when we have projects. So when every year, about when they come out with new allocations from Department of Homeland Security, then we do new projects, and that's how we get the for example, the stop movement trailer, the comfort trailer, the computers, all that equipment.
I guess the reason that I'm asking these questions, I looked at the invoice for and it's Dell laptop computers, really what we're getting, and I looked at the invoice, and the unit price was $3,317. And I thought, boy, that's a lot of money for a laptop computer. So I went on Dell's website, and they were advertising the same model computer for $1,656, about half. Do you know why we're paying double what?
Yeah, it has to do with the programs that are loaded on it, which in this case is the Dragonfly program, which is the accountability and also for our incident action plans. And it's a way of everybody doing those the same. It's kind of, I'll call it a fill in the blank, so that, for example, if you put down who the incident commander is on the first page, every place where that needs to be carried through the document, it's done. It's a pretty intricate program, and it saves on disaster scenes. It saves a lot of time, or even for major events when we plan major events. Like when we do Spirit of Kansas and the big parades, it saves us a lot of time by being able to do the documents. So it's mostly the programs that are on there why it costs the money.
Yeah, so it's essentially highly specialized programming that's about $1,600.
Yeah, wow. And for example, just in the short amount of time we've had these, before you even see the document, we've already had to upgrade those 3 times, and I think Dusty just did them again last week. We actually got another upgrade on those, so it's also for the support that goes along with that for a few years.
Okay. Now, one other question, if you will. It also mentioned 2 annually scheduled visits in central locations of Northeast Kansas, and the unit price for those was $14,512.50. What does that do for us?
They set up user group conferences when we all go in that have these programs, and we'll spend an entire day doing training and upgrades on the equipment so that we learn how to use it, because it's not very simple, and if you don't know how to use it, then there's a lot of, so we do annual training and updates. So, for example, last week we had the Kansas Emergency Managers Association conference, and while that wasn't one of those, they were there the entire time just working with people on their laptops and the program to keep them updated, so they're really service friendly.
Okay, and this is all Homeland Security funded?
It's all Department of Homeland Security funds.
Okay, thank you very much, David. Thank you for answering my questions.
Follow-up.
Yes, Commissioner Bueller.
Dave, could you just share that? How, doesn't KDEM determine the regions, or that has not always been the case, that we worked as regions, correct?
Right. Originally, back in like 2000, 2001, when the money first started through DHS, they actually sent money to the county, so Shawnee County received its own money, and of course back then we had a committee representing all the emergency agencies in Shawnee County that sat on a committee to do that. And then they decided that it would be better served to do it as a region. For example, when we first started with the Shawnee County group, it was decided by several of the rural fire chiefs that we were better to take money, for example, for technical rescue and to put all that money at Station 11 in Topeka Fire, because we knew that they were going to respond anywhere in the county or any place they were requested and if they were available. So the money was centralized. Well, then they got to thinking that it would be better served to do that by the entire region. So like we have a 23 county region where we work in. So, you know, the example I use is the comfort trailer that Shawnee County has. You couldn't afford to do a $104,000 trailer several times, so we have one in the region, just like we have a couple of the incident command trailers in different locations. We're scheduled sometime later this year when they're delivered. Now that the money was made available, for example, we're getting a new light tower in Shawnee County. That'll actually go to one of the rural fire departments, but it's a light tower along with the generators extra big so we can use it as a power supply. So by doing these things regionally, it saves everybody money in the long run because we're sharing equipment. We just make the phone call. For example, we did Spirit of Kansas. We needed more light towers. Last time we rented a light tower was like $100 for just the evening. This last time, instead of going out and renting those, I just put out an email to the counties, and we picked up several light towers from different counties, and they brought them in, and then we used those for free. We put a little bit of diesel fuel back in them and took them home. So it saved us a lot of money.
Commissioner?
Thank you. Mr. Sturbins, just to make sure that I'm clear, we have the Federal Homeland Security.
Yes.
They give the grant to the the North Central Regional Planning Commission, and then they determine what comes to Shawnee County.
No.
No.
No, the money from Department of Homeland Security comes to the state of Kansas and is deposited with the Kansas Highway Patrol.
Okay.
And then there's a formula that's used to decide how much each region gets. And then when that dollar amount is given to the regions, like the Northeast region, then we decide on the projects that the region agrees to support. And then once we decide what to support, then, for example, on the truck, we tell their planner, this is what we want, these are the specifications, and then they go out and do all the legwork and all the bids and all that, and then they make the purchase, and then it comes back to us.
Okay.
And they get a percentage of the money, you know, I don't know, it's a real small percent, but they get a small percent to manage all of that.
All right. But out of all of this, these laptops, the equipment you've been discussing, none of those are expended from Shawnee County taxpayers.
No, this is all from federal tax dollars, and yes.
And so when Commissioner Archer is questioning you about the cost of the laptops and looking at whether this is a high price or a low price on the laptops, I mean, I think that it's good that we're keeping an eye out for all of our taxpayers, but not necessarily out of the Shawnee County general tax roll.
Well, I tend to think we pay a lot of federal taxes in Shawnee County, and it's nice to see that some of it's coming back. And especially being the capital, we do get kind of like with our EMPG money, we do get extra consideration because we are the capital, so that does help us. But I can tell you that as far as the committee goes, there's enough people requesting projects that money is very competitive, as is the projects, and there's a lot of discussion goes on about how these projects and which projects they are. For example, a few years ago when we were fortunate enough to get the funding to buy our animal response trailer so that we can go out and take care of all the dogs and cats that we're required to take care of during a disaster. And there was a lot of discussion about where that trailer was in this region, where it was going to go and who was going to get it. And fortunately it came down to where they paid for the gas, but basically I drove my truck all the way to the East Coast to pick up that trailer because that was the most efficient way to do it, and we were down to the pennies on that project. So there's a lot of competition for it.
Anything else, Commissioner?
No, that's it.
Okay, even though these are DHS dollars, they're tax dollars, and we all pay them, and I think we all ought to ask questions about how our tax money is spent.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Okay,
Motion?
There was, I'll move to approve both
I'll
both
second.
contracts, yes.
Motion made by Commissioner Bueller, seconded by Commissioner Cook to approve the contracts. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you, Dave. Oh, you have another item, I'm sorry. Next item, please.
Item C2, consider approval of out-of-state travel for an employee to attend training at the Center for Domestic Preparedness with no cost to the county.
It's the only way we go is if it doesn't cost, and in fact, if the employee does have any cost, they agree to pay those themselves, just little incidentals, but this is absolutely no cost to the county. In fact, we don't even take a county vehicle to the airport, so, on this one.
Questions or comments about the out-of-state travel?
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook to approve the out-of-state travel. That was seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you, David.
Thank you,
Next
Commissioner.
item.
Item D, Public Works Solid Waste. Number 1, consider approval of request to solicit bids and/or negotiate for purchase of new used capital equipment as follows. A, 2 single-axle dump trucks with snowplow and sander attachments for an estimated cost of $120,000 each, less trade-in. B, sweeper truck, used refurbished, at an estimated cost of $40,000 to $70,000. C, vibratory trench roller compactor at an estimated cost of $40,000.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tom Block with Public Works and Solid Waste. As mentioned, this is a Public Works item, and this is our annual request to update and keep as current as possible our equipment fleet for the Public Works Department. As you may recall, in our strategic plan, in our inventory of our equipment, we estimate we actually need about $800,000 per year, realizing that that is not an option this current year, and with some of the other needs that other departments have had, requests from the capital equipment fund. These are our highest priorities that we feel that would fit within what's remaining from the capital equipment fund. I've had some discussions with Betty Griner regarding this, and from my understanding, she is okay with this. I know we're getting to the limit of what's been budgeted for the capital equipment fund, but anyway, these are our highest priorities for Public Works to keep our fleet going, and so I stand for any questions.
Questions or comments for Mr. Vlock?
I do not have any. I would move for approval of the request to solicit bids.
I'll second.
Motion made to approve by Commissioner Cook and seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. Opposed no. Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. Bargain hard. Next item.
Exactly.
Item E, appraiser. Number 1, consider approval of request to fill a vacant personal property office manager position at an annual salary of $41,620, including benefits.
Morning, Commissioners. Mark Hickson, County Appraiser. Are there any questions about this?
Questions or comments for Mr. Hickson?
Mark, this is within your budget,
Yes,
and this is a position that you've deemed necessary for the appraiser's office.
yes.
And those were the only 2 questions I really had.
It's a vacated position.
Yeah.
Yes.
Same classification, salary, everything. Nothing's changing. We're just filling the position
Correct.
because it's been vacated.
Yeah,
And
we're-
thanks for pointing that
Yeah.
out. This is not a new
New
position.
position,
This is
no.
at all.
Right,
No.
we're down, we had 18 people in the personal property section in 2001, and we have 3 now. So, yeah, when we lose one, it's
Can
pretty
feel it.
serious
Yeah.
at this point.
And thanks for mentioning that, too. I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Archer, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. Opposed no. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you,
you.
Mark. Next item.
Item F, Health Agency. Number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C 325-2014 with Health Initiatives LLC for consultant services regarding the development of the Fetal and Infant Mortality Review Project for the health agency.
Morning, Commissioners. Allison Alejos. As you know, we have a fetal infant mortality review project grant that we've received from the Kansas Health Foundation and the United Methodist Health Ministry funds. We've had a very challenging time getting that coordinator position filled. Actually, it was opened in March of 2013. It did not fill until October of 2013 and then was vacated again in March. And we have still not been able to fill that position. So in an effort to really be able to move the program forward, what we would like to do and what we've had discussions with the funder about is changing the way that we were doing business and actually get a consultant in to come and help train our own staff so that we would be able to do the work after the funding is gone, for one, but also to be able to get somebody that's got some experience with FEMA programs. So we have found Shawnee Harris, who is with Health Initiatives LLC, and she has agreed to contract with us to help get us ready to go. And you can see in the BCC request some of the key things that she'll do with us is to really get those memorandum of understandings in place with community partners so that we can do medical record abstractions. We'll also train our own staff and as well as those that will be participating in the review process, whether it's through the medical review or through the community action team. This is a $60 per hour, not to exceed 8 hours per week, and it will end at the end of this year. And so we're requesting approval to enter into this arrangement.
Questions or comments for Alice?
I have none. Again, the reason that we're doing this work is because Shawnee County has a higher
Correct.
infant mortality rate than
Yes.
other counties.
We actually, when we started, the infant mortality rate was 8.3 infant deaths per 1,000 live births. The most recent analysis, which is from 2008 to 2012, shows that we have 7.2 infant deaths per 1,000 live births, which is going down, which is a good thing. We continue to work on meeting another goal. We've got a goal of the Healthy People 2020, 6 infant deaths per 1,000 live births by 2020. That's part of our health improvement plan. That is something that the community is working on right now. So FEMA will just be another way for us to strengthen that work.
I'm always interested in levels, trends, and comparisons, and when we're down to 7.2, how do we compare now to other areas that we've looked at?
We're still higher. We're one of the higher counties in the state, probably in the top 5. So we definitely have some work that we need to do.
Okay. And this goes a long way to...
Absolutely.
Okay.
It will help us really look at those trends, identify any trends that we may be seeing with those families that have lost a baby. So it's very important work.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the contract.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Archer, seconded by Commissioner Bueller to approve the contract. All in favor say aye, opposed no. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you, Allison.
Thank you.
Next item.
Item G, corrections. Number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C 326-2014, amendment to food services contract with Aramark Correctional Services LLC to meet standards for the Juvenile Detention Alternative Initiative for quantity and quality of nutrition offered for juvenile resident meals from August 1 of 2014 through September 30, 2014, at an estimated cost of $3,000.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tim Phelps, Department of Corrections. This is a positive initiative that we're happy that we're able to take part in. Because we were the lead agency in this region to pursue the Juvenile Detention Alternatives Initiative, we have been given an increase in funds from the state Juvenile Detentions Fund, and they specifically want us to target the improvements the JDAI supports, and one of those is an improvement in the nutritional value of the food that's provided to juveniles in quantity and quality. So since they are providing the funds, we're going to increase from the professional standards to this higher standard, and we're going to use their funds to do it and also give them fresh fruit and rather than a sweet product like a cookie or muffin or something.
Questions or comments for Major Phelps?
My comment would be, in speaking with Director Cole, he mentioned that the timing of the Hunger Month was really coordinates with this, and that noticing the trends that we see at the Juvenile Detention Center and looking forward to how can we have a healthier lifestyle and how can we press that upon our young people to decrease problems at the jail, issues with corrections, helping them to have a healthier life once they leave the correctional facility. And so I think this is a great initiative. And I support Director Cole in seeking this with Aramark and Aramark's responsibility to it, looking at how can they be a partner in this. And so I think this is a win-win for everybody.
Good point.
Move for approval.
Second,
Yes,
but
Commissioner.
you also saw some, you kind of did a test run of this a little bit, correct? And
Right,
looked and saw some changes in behavior?
Correct, and I appreciate you raising that. The initiative actually was started when we got the funding in July, and they did a test run, Aramark did, and even though they weren't being paid for it at that point, they went ahead and did it, and what we found was that the juveniles were very appreciative of it. It helped them have a little bit more normalized environment, which is the target of JDAI, is to reduce the impact, the negative impact of detention on juveniles, so that they're not inclined to just become acclimated to detention environment, and therefore not kind of want to return to it, type of a thing. So.
Motion made to approve the contract by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye, opposed no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Item
Thank you,
G,
Major.
item G2, consider approval of emergency purchase of a backflow prevent in the juvenile detention center at an estimated cost of $5,300.
Good morning, Commissioners. Eve Kendall, Department of Corrections. I'm sorry I'm the one asking for something and he gets to tell you good news, but, and also, some of the juveniles aren't very happy they're not getting cinnamon rolls and they're getting fresh fruit, but, you know, I think that's anywhere. In front of you, I have a request for emergency purchase for the backflow preventer for the Juvenile Detention Center. It was an original piece of equipment that was first installed in 1998. With the events that we had back in July with the water main break, this was brought to our attention. We tried to rebuild it. When we tried to rebuild it, it didn't work very well. It won't seat properly, so we do need to purchase a new one. We've talked to Betty Greiner, and we've made arrangements for the purchase. Half will come out of our budget, and half will come out of the capital outlay.
Okay.
If you have any other questions, I'll be happy to try and answer them for you.
Are there questions or comments for you?
Move for approval.
I'll second.
Motion made to approve the emergency purchase by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye, opposed no. Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
Eve. Next item.
Item 5, administrative communications.
Absolutely. Come on up.
Thank you, Commissioners. I'm Marge Ahrens. I live at 1238 Southwest Mulvane in Topeka. And I'm here today because on September 4th, Mr. Archer, seconded by Mr. Cook, deferred for the second time any discussion on the RFP requested by the county planner for $15,000 to begin the comprehensive land use planning project for the county of Shawnee County. And it wasn't brought up, it was deferred to September 11th, and it wasn't on the agenda, and it wasn't brought up in any discussion led by the commissioners. The proposal was for $15,000 to get some consultants, professional consultants, to do a random survey of residents of the unincorporated areas of Shawnee County to determine their concerns for land use, planning, and the money had already been appropriated in the 2014 budget for this expense. The issue did not appear, and the public did not have an opportunity to comment and participate in the discussion that the Shawnee County Commissioners may have had regarding it, and that's why I'm here today. I happened to be observing the Shawnee County Planning Commission in August at its August meeting. The commission used very strong words in directing Mr. Beagle to go forward with the comprehensive planning process. The commission members are your appointees, and it is disturbing that you would proceed as if they had not spoken to this important matter, as if you did not have a thought about it, which could be out in the sunshine, so to speak. I've lived here 32 years. Before living in Shawnee County, I lived in Minnesota, Oregon, and Illinois. I've had a long interest in planning as a function of good government. I see it as preserving green space, including prime agricultural land for future generations. I see it as saving citizens money by directing developments to the most appropriate locations so that public services such as water and sewer, roads, police, and fire, paid for by public money, can be managed in the most cost-effective and resource-conserving ways. I see planning as serving the common good in ways that are economically and environmentally sustainable. We know that the young adults we want to attract to our community are choosing more urban lifestyles. They want cheap transportation and walking options, including trails and open space. They want close-in living. They are choosing to buy on the internet or near their residences rather than drive to large malls. I have looked into the history of why Shawnee County Commissioners abandoned comprehensive planning in the past, and you may have also, and you may remember. They participated in the Metropolitan Planning Commission beginning in 1961 until they disagreed with the city of Topeka on its decision to turn down part of a developer's plan for housing in southwest Topeka in 2001 or 2002. Excuse me. The county commission thought approved the project in spite of the fact that the city had turned it down. And it had been turned down because a portion of the land for the project was wet and considered by professionals to be inappropriate for housing development. Another portion of the project was approved by the city. The decision ended in the Kansas Supreme Court, and the county lost. It was about the time that a county commissioner was quoted in the Capital Journal as saying that supporting comprehensive planning is a good way to lose my job. It is the duty of good government to plan. Fail to plan and plan to fail is the common statement to which Shawnee County might relate. Both counties to the east and to the west of us have gone through the comprehensive planning process, with opportunities for participation from citizens and other stakeholders. They are working toward preservation of their natural resources and building quality of life into a framework of area development. They get one up on us because they have set out to preserve what they have and direct development into a shape that is affordable and sustainable for and by taxpayers. I am exhausted by the culture of land use development, defined by if you can't get what you want, get an attorney. In the midst of the enthusiasm and care we citizens have for Topeka, Shawnee County as a center for music, history, art, politics, and natural history, please refuse to be terminally unique by thinking that we can get anywhere without a plan. Please decide to move forward into a comprehensive planning process which measurably and openly engages our whole community and relates directly to the Topeka Comprehensive Plan update, which is ongoing right now. Otherwise, you commit by default to the waste of human, financial, and natural resources we have, and to a low bar for attracting those who might choose to live here. I thank you very much for your patience.
Thank you, Marge. Anyone else for public comment? Commissioner Bueller?
Thank you for your comments. I do want to remind everyone, the Intergovernmental Cooperation Council meets tomorrow at 7:30. We will be having an update of our broadband initiative, and Gina Millsap and myself will be presenting at that meeting. So I believe everybody's been notified, hopefully. So,
Thank you. And that's the Vogel Room? at
I believe so.
Washburn?
Mhm.
No. Okay. Commissioner Cook?
I don't have anything.
I have a couple of thoughts. First of all, it was interesting, we were talking about the software, and we have family friends that own a software company in Washington, D.C., and they work with DHS and DOD, and they are very wealthy. So it's just amazing where your tax dollars go sometimes. Second thing is I wanted to mention the funeral service that we all attended Saturday morning in honor of Corporal Harwood. It was sad and it was solemn, but what it reminded me of in going to the Expo Center was that's our community meeting spot. That's the only place that we have to go to meet as a community and to share our sorrow or celebrate our successes. And so I just wanted to make a plug for the Expo Center. I need to thank the Expo Center staff for doing a wonderful job. There are so many people that need to be thanked from all over our state. Law enforcement and emergency management personnel, and I'm not going to get into specifics because there's so many people that I would not mention. But I wanted to say from this commission, thank you. Thank you for helping us in our time of sorrow and sadness. Next item, please.
Item 6, executive session.
I don't believe there's a need, so we are adjourned.